Hey, everybody, it's the Monday Review. We got a special guest today, longtime reporter covering the U.S. men's national team and American soccer in general. He was at ESPN as a full-time staff writer from 2011 to 2017, and then Yahoo Sports. And now he's at Fox Sports. He's a fixture in the USMNT press corps. Douglas McIntyre, thanks for coming in.
You got it, Adam. You can go by Doug. Only my mother calls me Douglas, but good to be on. Good to see you guys.
I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. All right.
But don't do it again.
Okay, I won't. I promise.
Yeah.
How much do you miss World Cup qualifying this cycle?
I do. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Go ahead.
I do. I do miss it a lot. There's nothing like World Cup qualifying, especially in CONCACAF. It's crazy, to go to places like San Pedro Sula, the Azteca. I mean, one of the true cathedrals of the sport. I goosebumps the first time I walked into that place. Just an incredible bucket list thing. I don't know if you guys been to Azteca, but phenomenal. I mean, you have to do it, even if it's the next qualifying cycle where we know that it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot more places for CONCACAF teams. I still think it's worth it to get down there. So I miss it. And I think the U.S. team misses it as well. Those games are always a test, and they've missed that a bit this cycle for sure.
How are they going to overcome that? That not having to go through that crucible,
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, the one good thing is that they did have to do it in 22, and the core of the team is the same. So I think it was really important for that. I had my doubts that team would qualify. I really did. I was worried because, as talented as they were, it's hard. And that team had no one that had gone through it before, with the exception of Christian and DeAndre Yedlin, really. So they got through, they qualified. That was obviously incredibly important that they did that. So I think that experience will help them. But yeah, these upcoming friendlies that we're going to see, and I think we're going to see some big name friendlies between now and the World Cup. They're going to have to do, and there are different tests, right? Like if you go and play in El Salvador, the challenges you're facing regarding the field, the fans, the conditions, all that is different than if you're playing a top European team on a pristine field. It's just a different kind of preparation, a different kind of challenge. And frankly, one the U.S. team needs. I mean, they haven't played because of COVID last time out. They didn't play a ton of good opponents before the last World Cup. They will get that chance this year. So that's going to have to serve as preparation. And I think it's good preparation given what, they're going to face on home soil next summer.
Doug, what do you think is the difference between fan opinion on CONCACAF qualifying and how we should perform in it and the realities that, of the results that we see?
It's a great question. I'll give you an example. All right. So 2014 World Cup cycle, U.S. team had a qualifier in Antigua, right? Tiny little island. They should beat that team 10-0, right? You think? Mm-hmm. It took a 90th minute goal, I believe, by Eddie Johnson to get I think it was a 2-1 win in driving rain on a cricket stadium in Antigua. And I was sitting in the press box with shoddy Wi-Fi, which is, actually good for a lot of CONCACAF venues where there's no internet to speak of at all. I remember being in the Azteca with no internet at one point. I'm on Twitter and I'm watching fans absolutely crush the team and saying this is the worst performance we've ever seen. And frankly, I was kind of on board. I was kind of they should have done much better. And to get to the post-game press conference, right, we had to actually run because it was a torrential downpour across the field, right? So it was a cricket oval. It was a cricket oval. So from my seat in the press box to the near sideline was probably 75 yards away. That's how far it was, right? So the entire press corps sprints across the field. We get about halfway across, and I've told this story before. I forget what it's called. The cricket, it's like the equivalent of the mound. It's raised up about 4 inches off the rest of the field. And it was at that moment I realized that this was 2012, Barcelona's best team in the world at that time. Barcelona could have done nothing on that field. You could not play soccer on that field. It was not a soccer game. It was like a war of attrition. So the idea that you're going to move the ball around, pass the ball around, play pretty soccer, it's an impossibility. And that was the moment I really understood that games in CONCACAF, you have no idea until you're there. players get told, like, Timmy Chandler was told, hey, this is what it's going to be like in CONCACAF qualifying. Make sure you're ready. Make sure you're prepared. He had no idea what hit him until he stepped on the field in San Pedro Sula in February, when it's, he just came from the winter in Germany. It's 90 degrees out. It's high noon. The stadium's been packed for 4 hours. You can't hear anything. It's totally different. It's not soccer. It's war. And that's the best way to describe it.
Did anybody bite it on that cricket mound? Anybody in the press corps?
No. Unfortunately, it would have been funny to see. I do know that, the state of us in that press conference, like we were all, I think Jurgen Klinsmann like laughed at us because we're all just absolutely drenched and just ridiculous looking. It was an experience, but you have to be there to understand what it's like. And for everyone who's gone to qualifiers, I think but it's it's just a different animal, completely different.
You've been covering soccer for more than 20 years in this country. I believe. How, and we had this incredible low in 2017 when we didn't qualify. And then I think there was definitely a surge of enthusiasm after that for the team. And how would you describe the moment we're in right now? We got the World Cup coming, which should be, it is going to be exciting. But what's the feel? What's the situation? It's
weird, man. It doesn't feel like the World Cup is right around the corner, but it is. And I think we got a little bit of a taste this summer with everything that was going on with Club World Cup, Gold Cup going on. Just every summer seems like there's a summer of soccer. I mean, last year I know that was the Fox branded event. Like we had Copa and Euros going, Copa and Euros going on at the same time, which was phenomenal. But with the women's Euros this year, with the you got club friendlies, League Cup started. Like you have games every night, League MLS matchups every night for 6 of them for 8 out of 9 days or whatever it was. But it doesn't. I feel like, Adam, that the attention span of all of us is just so low these days, so short that we're not going to really know what hit is until the World Cup actually gets here. Like that's how I feel. Like I don't feel like there's a lot of anticipation just yet. But I think once we get to May 2026, it's going to be off the charts. Like it's going to ramp up really quick. Obviously the results of the U.S. team have not been great. And I think that's, taken some of the excitement that you would hope to have if the U.S. team had won the Gold Cup with a first team in convincing fashion. I think people would be more excited about the World Cup next year, U.S. fans. But that obviously didn't happen. So, it's going to take some results in we still need to see a signature win from this team against a top level opponent. Maybe if they, beat a top European, South American team in a friendly before the World Cup, that starts to get people excited about this team. But, when the World Cup gets here, there's nothing like a World Cup, guys. There's nothing like it, whether it's in the U.S. or elsewhere. I'm old enough to remember the 94 World Cup. This is going to be, magnitudes bigger than that was. The marketing for it's going to be everywhere. Like it's going to be unescapable once we get there. But right now, it doesn't feel like a World Cup's coming to me anyway, even though it is. So it's a little weird.
Yeah. And Doug, I agree with you. But it just kind of hit me this morning. The more I do think about it, the country is primed for soccer to take off with this World Cup. Yep. I talked about it a few podcasts later, and we were talking before we started recording about the fact that Doug saw that I was at the Eintracht Frankfurt preseason match or whatever. And one of the points that I made is just the fact that, soccer has made it in America. You see Eintracht Frankfurt, Aston Villa, the fans that are there, all the different kits that you see or whatever. And this World Cup is going to be, I think it's going to be everything that all the people in soccer want it to be. And I don't know. It just, yes, the moment that we're in is everything seems down. Everything seems down right now, but I do think once we get there, once the calendar probably turns to 2026, and we can really say the World Cup is coming this year, I think we'll start to see the excitement tick up. And soccer is the third biggest sport in this country, in my opinion. It's just, of course, everything's so scattered, but
yeah.
It's gonna be a success.
Yeah, speaking of being scattered, like you've written a little bit about this, Doug, but there were an average 40,000 fans at these Club World Cup games, which is really impressive. And I think you made the point, maybe you can make it here too, that these were mostly not people who traveled from elsewhere, right? So
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean? What does that mean for the World Cup coming next summer?
Yeah, it's very hard to, there's not, like I said before, there's nothing like a World Cup. So you cannot compare the Club World Cup, which was the first time they'd ever had a tournament like that, 32 teams in one host nation World Cup style event. It was a novel. It was cool. It was interesting. It was different. I liked it. I really enjoyed the tournament, but it is in no way, shape, or form like an actual World Cup. Like it's the biggest, the men's World Cup is the biggest event in the world, right? Like sporting or otherwise. It's just, there's nothing that everyone in the world is paying attention to at the same time, like a World Cup. So you're going to have all those US fans next year. And they're, as much as fans turned out for their club teams, whether it was River Plate or Flamengo, and the South American fans were phenomenal. And to your point, like most of them are based here. Like they came from different places across the U.S. to go see their teams. They didn't have to travel from Brazil. Some people did, sure, or Argentina. Some people did. But most of those people were here. You're going to get all those people next year, and you're going to have tons of people that travel to the World Cup. So like I saw people, there were some games. I think there was one Club World Cup game that only drew 5,000 people or whatever. And someone said something like, we're going to see that at the World Cup next year. No, you're not. No, you're not. Every single seat for every single game will be filled. It's a completely different, there's no question the World Cup's going to be a success next year. There's no question about it. It's going to be the biggest, greatest World Cup we've ever seen by far. I mean, 50% bigger than any previous version. The amount of games, it's just, people don't know what's going to hit them. Like we talk about not feeling like it's coming. But when it hits, it's going to be like it's the greatest show on earth, man. Like nothing we have ever seen before. I think it's going to be the greatest World Cup we've ever seen.
Bro, you're hyping me up, man. I'm getting fired up just sitting over here right now. What can you let us behind the curtain a little bit? What's your role going to be at the World Cup? I mean, you're working for the rights holder, right?
Yeah.
You gonna be on TV a bunch, or like what do you?
I don't know yet. We haven't had those conversations yet. I hope so. It's an interesting thing because I think ideally I would probably be on both sides where, I'm written press and I fill in on digital or on TV when needed. It's a tricky thing though because FIFA actually doesn't allow you to serve both roles at a World Cup. You have to pick one or the other. So that's a tricky thing. So it's not like the NBA where, you have. Whether it's Bill Simmons or anyone else, where they can kind of do both. So that's an interesting thing, but like everyone else, we're we focus on what's in front of us, and the World Cup's not quite here yet, but the planning has begun, and I'm sure there'll be announcements as the tournament gets closer, whatever his role is going to be. But I can't wait to be involved in whatever capacity. I know I will be with the U.S. team throughout. Okay. Until they get knocked out, if they get knocked out. So that'll be interesting. And then after that, I would imagine that I'll be at all the big games and at the final at MetLife Stadium next July, which I absolutely can't wait. I'm a New York native. To see the World Cup final happening, close to home is it's a dream come true. Can't wait for it.
If you had your druthers, though, would you rather be on the? I mean, that is funny that FIFA requires you pick one. Either you're a writer or you're a TV personality. But like, if you had to pick one, which would you prefer?
Well, I mean, I'm a writer at heart. Yeah, that's how I broke in. I know people don't read as much anymore, so it's always good to
cover that in some detail in our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So I love coming on with you guys. I like talking about the sport. So. It's a tricky question. I think, if you work in this business now, you have to be able to do everything. So ideally, I'd like to not have to choose, and I do both. But, I'm a writer by trade, so I got to keep it real on that front.
Doug, you were with the team in Qatar, right?
Yep.
I I'm wondering, were you able to sense anything going on with the team with regards to the vibes? You know what happened with Gio Gate and everything. It's on my mind just because I revisited the episodes where we covered the scandal and everything. But what were you able to see on the ground there?
It's interesting. Like at the time, Vince, they did a pretty good job of keeping everything inside at the time. Mm-hmm. But in retrospect, knowing everything that happened, and by the way, as soon as the U.S. team got knocked out, I started getting messages that Gio came very close to getting sent home from that World Cup. So like the second they went out, the word started to leak out of what had happened. But while they were in the tournament, it was pretty tight. But obviously going back, looking at things like, the Gio stopping to answer questions, the mix zone, there was I was out at training the next day after the Wales game. And there was something about how he had, I said something like, I think if Gio had been healthy, he would have played in the first game. And I remember I got a funny look from someone, and at the time I didn't think anything of it. And then going back, like now I realize what happened, knowing what went down, what the story was. So, no, I mean, I didn't think that there was like everyone else. Like I thought it was impossible that would be an issue because of how close Gio Reyna knew Greg Berhalter his entire life. Like the families were close. I didn't think there would be any issue with them. That was the last thing I thought, that there'd be a problem. So obviously I was wrong. I think a lot of people were wrong about that. But at the time I thought it was, I didn't think there was much to it. And yeah, as soon as they got knocked out, we found out there was an awful lot to it. So I wish I'd known, Vince. I wish I'd reported it at the time, but I didn't. So yeah, they did a good job keeping it under wraps, at least until they were eliminated.
Okay.
I have a few listener questions I want to throw at you. One of them is about Gio, but first, just a little bit about your background. So I read that your mom was a journalist and editor. What kind of work did she do? I'm curious.
Oh man,
you told Grant Wall that you told.
I did, yeah.
Grant Wall that, yeah.
No, my mom was a reporter for many years, and then she moved on to the editing side. And she
at a newspaper, or
she worked for the New York Daily News. Both my parents are from Scotland, so she started out working for papers in the UK. Moved to the States. She freelanced for a number of years. She worked at Star Magazine. She actually broke the Jennifer Flowers, Bill Clinton scandal.
Whoa.
Yeah. So and then she
McIntyre.
Yeah. So she was an editor, and then she finished her career. She was I think she was the editor-in-chief for Hearst Magazine's International.
Wow.
So she retired about 12 or 15 years ago. I never, my mom never got me a job, never, made a call, never did anything like that. She was an in-house editor when I started my career. I could send her stories and she would tell me what she thought. She was honest. But she also said she thought I had a future in it. And coming from her, I took that to heart. And I've been really lucky. It's been an amazing ride, better career than I could have ever dreamed of when I started. Some of the experience I've had, but yeah, I owe a lot to a lot to both my parents for how supportive they were, and my house was always filled with books and newspapers and things like that, and that's the reason why I ended up doing what I do.
You went to Glasgow in the summers sometimes, right? Yep. You were always struck by how little soccer was talked about when you came back to New York City.
Correct.
Is yours like a Celtic family or a
no?
Rangers family?
No. So my parents are from the Glasgow area, just outside both of them. My mom's from Motherwell, so we were Motherwell supporters still to this day. It's amazing to me that I can now watch Motherwell play Rangers in their season opener on CBS Sports. Like that's crazy, which I did last weekend. So yeah, the first games I ever went to were at Fir Park in Motherwell, and that's really where I fell in love with the sport because just the intensity of the games in Scotland, the fans are really what did it. Like the humor, the passion of the fans was eye-opening. I'd never seen anything like that. I'd been to baseball games and stuff like sporting events in the U.S. There was nothing like that I'd ever seen. So as like an impressionable 10, 12-year-old kid, hearing a lot of colorful language, and Scottish people are just incredibly funny in general.
Yeah.
So I just loved it, and I've loved it ever since.
They're like, when you say the humor of the fans, you like making fun of players on the field.
Everything, yeah. Just little quips, like, I mean, one guy in front of me saying, if I was a manager, I'd shoot one every week. They'd soon learn. It's just ridiculous things like that. I mean, it's just silly. So but
all right. So you one more thing about your background.
Sure.
So you graduated from Iona, a hero of March Madness for me as a kid. In 2000, and started full time at ESPN in 2011. Like I said, so tell us about how'd that happen? How'd you get to the sort of what seems like the top of the profession?
Well, I started so I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in school. Like I wasn't sure, and I sort of defaulted into journalism because I didn't have any other idea, and I was always I had a strong background in English and all that sort of stuff. And I got an opportunity to cover the Metro Stars a year out of college, now the Red Bulls, as their beat writer for a long defunct internet website. And it was
Tell us the name of it.
The name of the website, believe it or not, kid you not, was internetsoccer.com. Yeah. But they were
early days.
So they were part of the Team Talk network in the UK. So they actually had some money. Not very much. I didn't get paid very much per story when I started, but it was, I was the Metro Stars beat writer, and it was an interesting time. Like Tim Howard was there, Tab Ramos, it was his last year. One of the first stories I ever wrote was him announcing his retirement. One of the greatest U.S. players ever. Played in 3 World Cups. So very interesting team. Bob Bradley showed up as coach the next year. There were a bunch of guys that ended up on the 2010 World Cup team that were there. Ricardo Clark, Mike McGee was on that team in 2000. A young Michael Bradley was on that team as a teenager with braces. So that was a really interesting experience. And then I started as a freelance fact checker at ESPN the magazine in 2004, and I started to write for them a little bit. I wrote for ESPN's website. I started out covering college soccer, then started to do some US stuff, some MLS stuff. And it wasn't until 2009 that things really took off for me, because along with my dear friend and former colleague Luke Cyphers, we started the U.S. men's national team blog on ESPN right around the Confederations Cup. After the U.S. beat Spain, I think that opened a lot of eyes at ESPN. They had World Cup rights the next year. And that was really like that. That's what really helped me get hired full time, to cover the national team as a national team beat writer. And I did that job at ESPN with Jeff Carlisle up until I left in 2017. So I've been very fortunate. I always felt like the national team was the barometer of the sport in this country. It's a way in to cover, leagues and see leagues and players around the world, following U.S. players and wherever they go around the world. I'm, again, very fortunate to being able to make a career out of it. But, I was also very lucky with timing as well, that, when I started and the interest in soccer in particular, and the national team, or soccer in general, the U.S. team in particular, kind of picking up as my career was taking off.
Maybe a little luck, but you paid your dues, man.
A little luck, yeah.
Was it always soccer or bust, or was
I covered hockey? I covered hockey actually earlier in my career. I was a hockey player. I played hockey at Iona briefly, but yeah. So I covered the NHL a little bit, and I liked that. That was interesting, but soccer to me was always just, there was something. The growth potential, it's a maturing sport. Every other sport is mature in the U.S. The NHL, NBA, NFL, baseball. Soccer, like, I was always intrigued by the potential of it, and I still am. And that's what keeps me going, keeps me excited, and that's never changed. And I want to get to the point where the sport is mature in the country, but we're not there yet. And I think it'll be my entire career will be documenting the rise of soccer in this country, because still a long way to go, but we're on the right track. And like I said to Belz before we came on, there were 10 MLS teams when I started covering the league. right? Now there's 30. And there was,
Right.
no soccer-specific stadiums. When I walked into Red Bull Arena in 2010, I had tears in my eyes because I couldn't believe it. And now it's, covered going to some of the, Atlanta and some of these places. Like, it's just remarkable to me how far the sport's come. It's great.
You also said off air that part of the reason you wanted to cover the Metro Stars was because that was the only way to get information on them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to get some facts about the team, you had to go to the training,
No, I remember like the Metro, like when, and before I became a reporter, and I was just a fan, and like, I grew up in New York City. I didn't have a team. When the Metro Stars arrived, it's like, all right, it's my team. They played a friendly against like Benfica their first year. Couldn't find the score. I literally called the league office. I was like, you know what the score in the game was last night? Like if you didn't go, you didn't, like, unless you went to the game, you didn't know. Like, it wasn't in the newspaper, nothing. So yeah, like I've always had that idea. Like, I want to find out information because I just want to know. And then, if I know it, I'll report it. Like, if it's, I want other people that are curious to know too. And that's sort of how I've always approached it. So yeah,
it's the best
really
approach.
Good trading. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's take a little break. If you want to skip the ads, join the Patreon. We're going to come back, do some listener questions, mostly about Pochettino, and then we'll go through our like sort of usual rundown of the weekend. So we'll be back in a second. All right, we're back. Doug, let's do some listener questions. Starting with Hip Hip Jorge in the Bay Area. He asks, since Poch has taken over as head coach, what have been the distinct differences in the camps, training sessions, compared to when Greg was in charge?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a level of, it's interesting. I sat down with Greg a couple of weeks ago. He was in town, and we went for a coffee. So it was interesting to hear his perspective. It was a private conversation. I'm not going to get into what we talked about there.
Okay.
But the thing. Yeah, sorry. Probably should have said that if I was going to not want to talk about it. But the thing. So one of the things I think is, and I think Greg would admit this, like there was a level of comfort that set in with that group, just because they'd been together for so long. They came up together. They grew together. Greg grew as a coach. Those guys grew as people and as players, and they went through a lot together. And I think, like it happens in a lot of cases, things just got stale. And the message stops landing. That's normal after 5 years. Like, it's very hard to keep guys engaged with the same voice for years on end. It's really hard to do. That's why coaches turnover is so high. You don't see coaches in any sport lasting that long. So the main difference is that the players are on their toes now, that there's a new boss in town. They have to be. They don't, it's a completely different way of doing things. Poch has his own staff. There's some holdover in terms of the support staff and stuff like that. But yeah, like it's a completely different environment for these guys, and they're starting from scratch, and they have to prove themselves all over again. And I think, you saw the guys at the Gold Cup take advantage of that. You've seen some resistance, I think, a little bit from some of the established players, but that's going to have to get sorted out before the World Cup. And the summer, the thing I noticed the most this summer was Poch really starting to put his foot down. And after the Nations League, really, I think the first few months he was in charge, he's really kind of sussing out what everything's about. There's things he didn't realize before he took the job, I think, and getting his head around all that. But then after the Nations League, I think it was like, look, I know what I have to do. I have to kind of put my foot down a little bit more. And I think that's what we saw. I think we might see that in the September camp a little bit. So yeah, the comfort level is not what it was under Berhalter. There's guys that are, that have to prove themselves to make the World Cup team next year. And there's a lot of guys like that. So yeah, and I was just going to say, you're right. Absolutely. That's exactly what this team needs. The players, particularly the best players on this team, need to be held accountable. And I think they will be by Pochettino and his staff.
Yeah, because it seems to me that because we sit here and try to make sense of everything that Mauricio has done, like the summer and everything, and it does seem to me that like if you look at it through that lens, that this is what Poch is doing, reestablishing order and all this stuff. It seems like all of his decisions kind of fall in place and then end up making sense as far as like this is his plan, this is how he's going about it, et cetera, et cetera. So while we might be confused by like the deployment of a I don't know, Max Arston, Patrick Ajimong, etc.
Yeah.
He's putting obstacles in place for the players that we think are the better players to overcome.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely, Vince. Like you saw him do that at the goalkeeper position, right? Like where he was determined to start anybody other than Matt Turner, just because he wants to challenge Matt. He wants to hold Matt accountable, and he wants to make it uncomfortable for him to get his spot back. Matt Turner, that is. And it turned out to be Matt Freese. I think if Zach Steffen had been healthy, that he would have got the chance. Maybe Patrick Schulte would have got the chance if he was healthy. I mean, those guys, I think we all thought were ahead of Matt Freese going into the Gold Cup. But Freese gets his opportunity and does well with it. Now it's up to Turner to claim his job back, and that's how it should be. And I think you're right. You see that in other positions around the field too.
This next question is related to this, and maybe the answer is the same. But Josh Warner asks, he says, I don't really know how to ask this as a question, but I would love any insights you may have into the player selection process of this coaching staff. They all seem like really smart people, but a lot of it feels like just vibes. And maybe the answer is just simply he's putting, like Vince said, putting people in the way so that these more established players have to prove it. But what's your sense of it, Doug?
I mean, in terms of like, do the guys that are getting called up deserve to get called? I mean, like,
yeah. Like, why?
I think so.
Why Sebastian Berhalter? Why, for instance, why Sebastian Berhalter? Why not Aidan Morris? I mean, they're both like relatively.
Yeah. I agree. Well, I'm glad you asked about Sebastian Berhalter in particular, because like for me, like he's not a guy that was on anybody's radar at the beginning of the year. Like no one was clamoring saying, man, this guy should be on the January camp roster. Where's Sebastian Berhalter? He's not on the January camp roster, right? I don't know if you watched his games in the Champions Cup with Vancouver. Like I'd seen Sebastian play, right? So like I'd seen Sebastian play a little bit. Like okay, he's an okay player. He's got some technical ability, a little bit undersized. Like I didn't think nothing about him screamed national team player to me when I saw him in years past. When I watched him play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup this year against some good Mexican teams in games Vancouver won, I was like, this guy's the best player on the field. Like this guy's bossing this game in Mexico against good Mexican opposition. So like Sebastian played his way onto the national team. Like in my opinion, like he really did. Like, and that's what you want. Like he played well enough to get noticed and to get called in, and he earned that call up. And I thought he was fine in the summer. But there are other.
I'm not saying he wasn't.
Sure. Is he better than Tanner Tessman? I don't know. Is he better than Aidan Morris? I don't know. I do know that Pochettino, what it feels like to me, and I don't know this for sure, but it feels like Pochettino in his first 6 months on the job wanted to take a look at everybody he could. And he just about did that. I mean, he looked at an awful lot of players. You think about his first few camps, like Gianluca Busio started the game. Aidan Morris, I think, started his first couple games in charge. Yep. So he's seen those guys, right? He's seen Tanner Tessman. He's seen Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's seen, like, you go down the list. He's seen just about everyone in the player pool now, up close and personal, not just as players, how they are off the field, how they interact with their teammates, what kind of energy they bring. You know, people laugh about vibes. Vibes are really important. Especially in a World Cup when you have a group of guys, there's 26 players, only 11 play at a time, right? So you have 15 guys who aren't playing. The vibes better be good, because if you have a bunch of jerks, your team's going nowhere. Look at France. Like, look at the French team in 2010. Look at the French team in 2002, right? France wins the World Cup in 1998. They go into 2022, 2002. They're the best team in the world. They have the best roster in the entire world. They don't score a goal at the World Cup. They don't score a goal, right? They implode. They completely imploded. 2010, same thing. They go out in the group stage, completely imploded, right? Look at that roster. How did that happen, right? So so he's figuring out. He wants to know who he can count on the field in whatever role it is. That's what I think this summer was about. Now, Does that mean that, Aidan Morris isn't going to make the World Cup team and Sebastian Berhalter is? I don't know at this point. I don't know. I don't think any of us know. That's why the next few months are going to be really interesting, right? And Aidan Morris is he's started, played 90 minutes in the opening weekend for Middlesbrough. He's a good player. I really like him as a player. Really like him. And I think he can be a national team player. But we'll see. There's 26 spots. I do think the guys that were on the Gold Cup team this summer have an advantage just because the amount of time they spent with that squad, with Pochettino, the sacrifices they made. Like there were guys, you talk about Matt Turner, right? Matt Turner spent his whole summer with 5 weeks in the national team, didn't play a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play a minute, right? So I think those guys get the benefit of the doubt because they, by all accounts, everyone in that group was super tight and contributed to a really, really strong team atmosphere. And that's a necessity at the World Cup. You need the quality too, but you absolutely need the vibes as well.
Is that why Poch cried at the end? Because he felt so good about the vibes?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I thought it was a little funny too, right? But that team was they cared for each other. They really did. And you can and it's that's in team sports. Like you need that. You catch lightning in a bottle sometimes. That's how Leicester wins a Premier League title, right? Like they had quality as well. But sometimes a group just work. They just click together. They care for each other. They fight for each other. They play for each other. They play well for each other. They have chemistry, and you catch lightning in a bottle, and you accomplish something great. And I think the U.S. team this summer probably overachieved. They got a little bit lucky. I think it would have been very difficult for them to play Canada in the semifinal. So Guatemala did them a favor in that game. Right. But they went to the final against Mexico, and I think at the beginning of the summer we all would have taken that.
Went up 1-0 too. If France needs good vibes, boy, do we need them. Yeah. And look at what happened when everybody misbehaved in 1998.
Exactly. Yeah. You have no chance.
Yeah, we won't have a chance. Darius T asks, do you think the player pool is better than its results, worse than its results, or about the same?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think they've been worse than their results lately.
Of course.
Look at the Nations League, right? Like U.S. should not be losing to Panama at home in a knockout game. Shouldn't happen. Still, no disrespect to Panama, but that shouldn't happen. You go man for man. U.S. has a better roster. That shouldn't happen. I still think the U.S. has a better roster than Canada. Canada's a really good team, and they play like a team, and they have some real quality. Like Jonathan David is a top striker on a global level. But man for man, are they better than the U.S.? I don't know. Yeah. So I didn't, you look at that tournament, they were, and this is a team that traditionally when it's done well is punched above its weight, and it needs to do that. And to have success next summer, it needs to do that. And it hasn't done that lately. So yeah, this is a team that's punched below its weight for the better part of really since the 2022 World Cup, I would say.
How do you define success in the World Cup next summer for the U.S.? Is it a quarterfinal appearance?
Yeah, at least. I mean, you're playing at home. You're going to get a good draw. You're going to be a seeded team, which you'll never get in any other circumstance.
Right.
We've seen a U.S. team go to a quarterfinal before, more than 20 years ago when MLS had 10 teams. So
back when you were working for InternetSoccer.com.
Correct. So I think the format's different. So now you need to win two knockout games to get to a quarterfinal, right? That's not going to be easy. The round of 32 game is going to be hard. It's not as hard as a round of 16 in theory, but that's a knockout game at a World Cup. That's a hard game to win, man.
It's going to be a team against a level that we haven't been convincing against. If it's like a, I don't know, Czech Republic, something. Just one of those random countries like that. Ecuador, I don't.
Sure. Look at the Iran game, Vince. Look at the Iran game in 2022. That was a knockout game. That was a knockout game, right? They had to win the game or they're out. Yeah. And that was a really hard game to win. And they won. They did it, but barely. So, yeah, I think you have to get to a quarterfinal. You go out in the round of 16 on home soil, that's a failure. You get to the quarterfinal, you can live with it. everything goes right, you can get to a semifinal. If everything goes right, you get a little luck and they play out of their skins. That can happen. We saw Morocco do it. We've seen South Korea do it. We've seen Turkey do it. You can get to a semifinal, but everything would have to break their way. They'd have to, and I think that's the ceiling for this. Like, quarterfinal would be a success. Semifinal, everyone has to be thrilled with that. And you play a third game. If you don't get any further, at least you're playing a third place game. The country would lose its mind if that happened, and it'd be a great thing. So it's going to be very, very hard to do, but
yeah,
it's not impossible if they get their act together.
Well, even getting to a quarterfinal in this tournament, you would require winning 2 knockout games, which
100%.
Yeah,
it would also be very difficult. Yeah, it'd be difficult, but they could do it. They could do it if again they play as well as they're capable of. They can and they get the bounces, they get the breaks. It's not impossible.
I mean, one thing's for sure, this may be the magical World Cup for Mexico to get the Quinto Partido.
Yes,
all they have to do is make the round of 16.
Oh man, right.
All right.
I mean, if we win 2 knockout games, like, this country's gonna like people are locked in when we get to the knockout rounds. You see all those videos or whatever of bars full of college kids or whatever, for our round of 16. I mean, imagine winning 2 knockout matches. That would be,
we'd go nuts.
Well, you got to get the momentum flowing, and I think that's part of the, when 2002 I think was a success because it comes on the back of the greatest failure we've ever seen for this national team. Like, you qualify for the World Cup, you get out the group, you're not winning that game against the Netherlands most likely. Though I would love to know what would have happened if Christian Pulisic had scored that goal early in that game. It might have changed things quite a bit, but I think that's what disappointed people was that everyone got up for that Netherlands game, and it was such a letdown. To lose 3-1, it just felt like as soon as the Dutch, that game was over at halftime. I was in the stadium. Like, when the Dutch scored the second goal, I knew there was no chance the U.S. was getting back in. 0 chance. However, they looked pretty good the first 10 minutes of that game. They bossed that game and had a great chance. And again, if that goal goes in, things could have been different. But in the end, what do you expect? You're playing the Netherlands in a knockout game of the World Cup. Did Greg Berhalter get outcoached by Gus Hiddink? Yeah, he did, because Gus Hiddink's one of the,
Van Gaal,
legendary coaches. Van Gaal, Van Gaal.
Yeah,
one of the legendary coaches the last 30 years, right? Like, I mean, you might win that game 2 out of 10 times if you're lucky. You'd want it to be a bit closer. I think a multi-goal loss was hard to take for a lot of people in that game. I understand that.
I mean, just look at the center back. I mean, we don't have to relitigate this, but just look at the center back pairings. Virgil van Dijk and Matthias de Ligt, and I forget who even started for us. Who was it?
Jesus Ferreira. That's right. I remember this Luca De La Torre quote when he was just watching from the sidelines. Like, their defenders were so good. It was hard for us to create chances or opportunities, which it's he didn't say that much, but it's Luca De La Torre saying it. So he's you got to add extra weight to it, where it's he doesn't open his mouth to say much. So it's the fact that he even really said that full quote is just
well, again, you go man for man, right? Nathan Ake's out. They're just you look around the field, it's come on, this guy starts for Manchester City. What do you think? But that's again, but if they can win one knockout game, Vince, the momentum starts to build, and then it's about capitalizing on it. So that's what we all, I think, hope for, that there's the U.S. team at least gives a good account of itself next summer and makes the country proud. That's all you can ask for.
Totally. All right, let's get into Gio a little bit. Dortmund has given is it Job? Is that how you say it?
Job, yeah.
Given Job Bellingham Gio's number 7. They brought it as a gift to Bellingham in England when they went to sign him while Gio was still on the team. He's now wearing number 21 for Dortmund. Was not in the team presentation. No update on his move to Parma. We're just going to have to be patient. The question from MGO5 is, do you get the sense the current staff knows what's ailing Gio Reyna? Is it? And I mean, maybe a more direct way to ask the question is his problem medical? Is it mental?
Ooh.
Is it bad luck? What's going on with Gio? What does Poch think is going on?
I think it's a combination of all those things. Like Gio has hardly played in the last 4 years. I watched a video of him earlier this morning, a goal he scored in December of 2020 for Dortmund. Just a phenomenal goal. And he scored a ton of those. Yes. So we've seen his quality, and that's why people are so excited about this guy still. But he has hardly played soccer for the last 4 years. And, I don't know if it's, I think the injuries have taken a toll. If you look at Gio's sprint numbers last year in the Bundesliga, out of 400 some odd players, he was number 366, in terms of top speed. So he's not sprinting. He's not, and I don't know if that's because he can't, because he's worried he's going to pop a hamstring. He's, been beset by hamstring injuries that have cost him nearly the season before the World Cup. The guy just hasn't played soccer, man. And until he does, it doesn't even make sense to talk about him as part of the national team. He's played 10 minutes under Pochettino, all in the third place match in the Nations League final. I never thought he was a Poch kind of player to begin with, but you need as many good quality players as you have at a World Cup. So I'm rooting for Gio. I hope he finds a place to play. I hope he crushes it. I hope he plays his way back on the U.S. team. But I'm less and less optimistic every day that that's going to happen, because I just haven't seen it. We can't go on, clips that happened 5 years ago. You have to be doing something now, today. And I'm worried for Gio, because he's missing preseason. Dortmund's already playing games. The European season has already started in some places, Scotland. Championship's already kicked off. 3 of the 5 top European leagues kick off next weekend. The final 2 the weekend after that. Gio hasn't had preseason with anyone. Is he going to step in somewhere, whether it's Parma or anywhere else, and be a world beater? I'd love to see it, but I'm not optimistic about it. I'm just not. I can't be at this stage. None of us can, really.
What is this is just this gives me so much anguish. What is going on in his camp? What are they thinking? Are they just happy to be sitting there in Dortmund doing nothing? Don't they want him to move just anywhere?
I have no idea. None of this makes much sense to me. Dortmund extended him a year, his contract a year, when they sent him on loan to Forest last year. You would think they would want to cash in at some point. This is a guy that was worth 50 million euros a few years
3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Dortmund apparently is holding out for 10 and can't get that. I don't know. I just don't know the answer. And the lack of updates is troubling. I have no idea what's happening with Gio, and I don't think anyone else does. I don't think he's gotten great advice. The move to Forest last year made no sense. It made no sense at the time. I said it at the time before he went. And that happened to play out the way we thought it was going to. So I don't know. I know he's changed agents a bunch of times. So we'll have to see. But he's got to land somewhere, and he's got to play soccer. And if he does that and he plays well, he can play his way onto a World Cup team. And if he doesn't, he's not going to be on the team. And it's as simple as that.
Well, he doesn't have a great track record as a vibes guy either. So,
well, again, right. So that's look, and that all gets assessed. And as much as Pochettino's going to give all these guys a clean slate, that's a big mark against him, unfortunately, for the rest of his career. That happened at a World Cup, and that's part of his history now. And it's on him to show that he's not that guy, and that he can be a contributor on whatever team he's on. And again, it's on him to do that. I still think he can. I hope he does, but we'll see.
So CF Jax asked, you do think Seb Berhalter has a better chance of being on the World Cup roster than Gio Reyna, huh?
As of right now, yes, he does. There's no question about that. I don't think that's a controversial take at all at this point.
Okay. Go ahead, Vince. I kind of jumped over you there.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just thinking back to when Doug said he was watching old Gio Reyna highlights, and man, he really did look like the real deal. Like I remember somebody posted I think his the goal he scored against Werder Bremen, was that the one who he skipped past 2 people, curled it in far post, and it's like, you know, everyone's response to the top speed stuff is like, well, he's never been the fastest, but he was very sudden, and that suddenness to me I just don't see it the way it was back then. But yeah, man, he was special to quote Vince McMahon.
Yeah. Well, the thing I think about a lot is like a soccer player's main development years. The years that a soccer player develops most are between like 17 and 20, 21. And Gio's basically missed that entire time. Like he's hardly played. He's played less than 600 minutes a year every one of the last 4 years. Like he's not the same player anymore. He's not. And I hope he can get back to being, because like you said, I mean, just the talent. And even for Dortmund, like whenever he's played, he scored, right? So like we know he has ability going forward, but I also think like there's just, you have to be a complete player in this day and age. Like there's no room for guys that can only, you know, operate in the final third. Like you have to be able to play all over the field. And you know, I don't know if it's fitness. I don't know if it's, you know, because he's had muscle injuries or whatever, but like that's never been Gio's game. You know, the defensive side of his game is still something that, you know, it's not great at. And, you know, there's no room for luxury players in the modern game. There's just not.
Can't play defense if you can't run. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
If you haven't already, check out the Grassroots Soccer Series that's ongoing on all our channels, especially if you're in the process of signing your kids up for soccer, which many of us are right now. I think you'll enjoy it. But even if you're not, the inconvenient truth about all of this is that American men's soccer is not going to get significantly better without everybody getting better from the ground up. So it starts with you. It starts with me. If you have a question or comment prompted by those episodes, please do send us a voicemail or write out a question. I'll put those links in the show notes because a few of us are going to respond to those in an upcoming episode. All right, we'll get to the weekend action after a break. Join the Patreon again, please, to skip the ads and get the clip notes videos, which Vince has lovingly crafted for yours and our edification. We'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back. Richards and Crystal Palace defeated Liverpool in the Community Shield, another trophy for the pride of Hoover, Alabama. Thoughts, fellas? Doug?
I love Chris Richards as a player, as a guy. Yeah, I mean, look, another impressive. Yeah, he is. He's great. Obviously, I mean, probably the guy. As much as we talk about Malik Tillman and Diego Luna and did all summer, Chris Richards, you know, firmly stamped his place as a in-pen starter for the national team going forward. I don't think there's any question about that. And a great guy off the field, great to deal with. Always a smile on his face, just a lovely person in every way. U.S. team's lucky to have him, and he's a terrific player. And we saw that. I mean, look, Palace was the underdog in that game, and they were the underdog in the FA Cup final against Man City, and they won both of them. So, you know, Richard's last 2 games for Crystal Palace at Wembley with a trophy on the line is on a team that beats City and then beats Liverpool. So I really like Crystal Palace. Great team to watch. Really fun. I'm excited to see what they can do in the Premier League this season. I'm excited to watch Chris Richards play week in and week out, the best league in the world this year.
Yeah. They're excited. Go ahead, Vince.
I just want to say Chris has matched, you know, every trophy that Mikel Arteta has won at Arsenal. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, it pains me to say this, but I mean, you know, it's talking about the magnitude of what he's been able to do here, and the fact he's been able to do it with Crystal Palace. Like, I mean, and was talking to Jack Pearce and everything. He's reaching club legend status. I mean, let's get a. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but a solid more 3-4 seasons, maybe some more success. I mean, it would another trophy. I mean, another trophy would obviously put him there, but yeah, he's doing well.
Yeah. Yep. He is such a lovable person too. I mean,
without a doubt.
Yeah. So he's humble and funny. Like Waukee always used to say, the funniest player on the national team. I want to say from this game, the thing that really stood out to me is sort of his resilience, because he did take a pretty good lick from Ekatike on that opening goal got outquicked to the inside, and it was a dart to the far post, a really nice goal in the 4th minute. But Richards hung in there, and so did Palace, of course. There was one moment a few minutes later where he gave it away to Ekitike. I mean, they were going at each other the whole game. Gave it away to him at midfield, and you're like, oh no, now he's going the other way. Richards made him like a more visible mistake than getting outquicked at the edge of his own box. But Richards chased him down, bodied him, poked the ball out of bounds. And I thought, man, that's good. It's good to the mental toughness there to stay in the game. And then, of course, obviously they won the game.
Yeah. And look, you're going to look silly sometimes when you're playing against top teams, top players. You know?
Yeah.
Like that's you're playing against Liverpool, right? Like defenders, sometimes you're going to look bad. That's how it goes. But I agree with you, Belz.
I mean, I was clipping that replay of the Ekitike goal, and it's like it's one step that Chris didn't make. You know, when Chris is trying to turn his hips, he kind of takes like a negative step, to where he doesn't like gain any ground laterally, and that gives Ekitike the little bit of space to put that ball in. It's just like, man, the margin for error so thin, and but
and still the shot had to go through the legs of was it Wharton or somebody, just the inside? I mean, yeah, exactly. The margins are so thin. PSV, Pepe not in the squad. Bosch said he wasn't fully fit, but will be back next week. There's now rumors about RB Leipzig maybe being interested in Pepe. You don't think so, weird. Doug? Yeah.
I don't know. That seems like a weird thing. I mean, PSV just signed him. They offloaded De Jong, as you mentioned, Vince. So that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I mean, you know, PSV's a Champions League club. Like would be Pepe's first season as the starter there. So I'd like to see him stay there. I hope that's what happens. I don't know if there's anything to those Leipzig rumors at all.
Right. I don't either. I feel kind of even guilty just even bringing them up, but people will be like, well, what about the rumors to Leipzig? So, Play didn't score. That's Pepe's competition. He didn't score in this 6-1 opening game of the season win. So I'm taking that as a slight victory. Yep. Dest did score in first half stoppage time. Gorgeous little 1-2 at the edge of the box with Play.
Yeah.
He's toying with the opponent in their final third, and then he gets slipped in and he roofs it from a tight angle. Just lovely, lovely stuff, sort of vintage Dest. And then he drops a highlight video. Well, he also contributed to the teal goal in the 70th minute.
Yeah.
Playing Perisic into the cutback zone. And then he posted a highlight reel to Instagram. So it's great to have him back in all his facets.
Yeah. Yeah. Love Serginho. Another big personality. I think the U.S. team really missed him over the last year.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a great thing that he's back. They missed him at the Gold Cup. Clearly, it was the right decision because he started the season very well for PSV. He looks like the goal was impressive, but like the highlight video was more like him dribbling through guys like he used to. Like that's what we want to see from Serginho Dest. Huge addition. It's like getting a new world-class player when he comes back to the U.S. team, and a guy that I think has matured a lot in the last couple of years. And he's going to be a really important leader in that room. He's a quirky personality, as you know. Like he's a different kind of guy, but I really enjoy him. I think he's great. I know his teammates really like him, and he's going to help the team immensely when he gets back in, hopefully in the September window.
Doug, I'm happy you brought up Serginho Dest maturing, because last week was the 4-year anniversary of him showing up to Messi's goodbye party in the streetwear fit.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that the tweet struck me because obviously we've seen this time and time again, but like I really thought to myself, I was like, there's nothing like that first time when you show up somewhere as a young man underdressed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you just feel like you stick out like a sore thumb. Like, and I know people maybe thought that like Serge showed up there and thought nothing of it, but I'm willing to bet something like this thing in particular for Serginho Dest, the person that we know that he is, him showing up there, sticking out like a sore thumb, being severely underdressed and everything. I feel like that probably stuck with him because I know the moments when it's happened to me, it stuck with me. It's like I can never let this happen again. So
yeah, I don't know if it was that or just him, naturally just getting older and more mature like we all do. But yeah, it's all those little things along the way, right? So
everything along the way, yes.
Yeah.
I also got some intel regards to his highlight reels. Okay. Twitter follower, Wake Up in Polo, hit me up in the DMs and said he's in Amsterdam. And he was talking to a guy from Eindhoven about our Americans. And he said that Serginho DMs people who makes edits to tell them to make sure they clip a specific moment. And then he'll tell them to edit the clips differently after watching them. So, he's as involved in the process as we thought that he was.
A regular Steven Spielberg.
That's right.
Right there. I do have to mention, do I have to mention it? I'm going to mention it. Sporting Rotterdam's goalkeeper had a nightmare of a game, caught out at the near post by Ruben van Bommel, who's I think is kind of interesting. He's Mark van Bommel's son. He's a new winger at PSV, came over from AZ Alkmaar. And what else? Beaten by Veerman in the second half on a shot he totally should have saved. I think he got a full palm to it and just palmed it right into his own goal. So, I mean, the allegations of Farmers League are not going away anytime soon.
It was kind of noticeable in this match, specifically. I mean, look, all due respect to Sparta Rotterdam.
Yeah, which there may not be that much respect to. Perisic keeps gaining strength as he gets older. Man, 36 years old. He's all over the field, running the show. 2 assists and a goal in this one.
Yeah.
What a player.
Yeah, good player.
Tillman, no longer at PSV, didn't travel with Leverkusen on their recent trip, but is expected to play in their season opener, reportedly.
Okay. Yep.
Championship kicks off. Captain Josh Sargent scored for Norwich. Just an absolute golazo. Just kidding. He blocked a goalkeeper clearance into the net with his butt. So good job, Josh. How are you feeling? Doug? How are you feeling about him not leaving Norwich?
Look, I think Josh has to do what's best for him and his family. I think it feels to me like he's at a point where he's just been named captain of the club. He's obviously well established. His family's settled. He's getting well paid. He can play his way into the Premier League next year. I wonder if he's just made the decision that that's the place he wants to be, and if he makes the national team or not, that's out of his control. He's just going to stay there and score as many goals as he can and hope that he gets called back in. From the outside, it feels like there's nothing he can do at Norwich to get back into the national team. Like if he wasn't on the Gold Cup this summer as the best striker in the championship last year, what can he possibly do to change Pochettino's mind? He hasn't played great in the chances. I think he started 3 games under Pochettino, didn't do very well in any of them, didn't score, missed a couple of really good chances in a couple games, not just the Nations League. The one I'm thinking about in particular was Poch's first game against Panama, I think. I was in the building. Josh had an absolute sitter and he skied it. And to me, it looks like in hockey, we say gripping the stick too tight. Like he's pressing, he wants it too much. I know he cares about the national team. He's a good player. He's a good guy. I have not, given up hope that he can make the squad. I think he can help the national team. I would love to have seen him be healthy for that Netherlands game in 2022 that we talked about.
Right.
Because I think he's a very good soccer player. I think he can score. There's obviously questions. Can he score at the international level? He hasn't done so since 2019. I think, he looks like kind of one of the kind of player to me that like once he gets one, the floodgates will open for him with the national team. He's just got to get that one. Does he get the chance? That's the big question. I mean,
right.
I thought he needed to move to a top division. I thought going back to Bundesliga from a career point of view, a national team career point of view would have been great. But, Josh made the decision that wasn't the best thing for his family. And how can any of us begrudge, him that? We all make decisions the best for our family first, as we should. But yeah, I don't know it's the greatest place for him to stay if he wants to make the national team. But, just been named captain, and so it doesn't seem like he's going to move anywhere. So if he's going to do it, it looks like it's going to be there.
I respect the decision if the decision is like, hey, I don't care as much about playing for the national team as I do about my family. I mean, who can begrudge him that? But if he still wants to play, if he wants to play at the World Cup next summer,
yeah,
like if he really wants to,
yeah,
dude should have moved. But whatever.
Yeah. I mean, look, or you can move and still not make it, and then you've uprooted your family for nothing.
That's true.
That's true. So like, if he just says, you know what, I mean, he only played about half the year last year because he got hurt early in the season, and then he was out the first half of the year. If he plays the whole year and he just is scoring every week, he should get another look. Whether it's in September or October or November or March. He should get another look before the roster gets named. And again, if he takes that opportunity, then, I do think there was, and I don't know this for sure, guys, it's just a hunch, but I feel like Pochettino was so disappointed in the results of the Nations League that he wanted to send a message. And, we know he wanted Christian Pulisic there. I'm not sure that some of the other regulars would have been there. I'm not sure if Weston McKennie specifically would have been on the Gold Cup squad this summer if he had been available. He wasn't because he was involved with Juventus at the Club World Cup. So I feel like maybe Poch he sent that message by leaving some other guys out, and those would include players like Sargent and Joe Scally and Tanner Tessman, guys that had been involved. And we're kind of head scratchers why they weren't there. I mean, Poch said Josh was a football decision. Okay, but is Josh Sargent a better striker than Brian White? I think he is, and no disrespect to Brian White. So we'll see if that was the case, and if some of the guys that were left out over the summer get another chance to come back in. I think they will. So I have hope that if Josh continues to just score the way he has been, he'll get another shot before it's all said and done.
Makes sense. And also Poch didn't play Brian White hardly at all in the Gold Cup. After he tried him out a little bit, then he probably realized that Josh Sargent is better than Brian White too.
Yeah. There was a lot of guys like that too. I mean, like when you look at, he settled on a group at the Gold Cup and kind of stuck with them. I mean, there were a bunch of guys we didn't see, like, Nathan Harriel, I don't think played after the Switzerland game. There was it was very clear.
Go ahead,
well,
sorry.
yeah. No, not. I mean, no one covered themselves in glory in that game, obviously, but like, it felt like there was, he didn't go to his bench sometimes because he didn't trust what he had on his bench. I don't think it was just a matter of, too late to make substitutions. I think he looks down his bench and is like, you know what, let's stick with the guys that are on the field.
Yeah.
So,
real quick, Caleb Wiley not in the squad for Watford. I don't know. Does anybody know what's going on there?
Nope.
Yeah. Okay. Haji subbed on in the 67th minute for Coventry. The game ended 0-0. Aidan Morris, I want to talk a little bit about him. He played the full, like you said earlier, Doug, played the full 90 in Middlesbrough's 1-0 win over Swansea. Wait, it was 1-0, right? I think it was. Sorry, everybody. Yeah. Aidan Morris played the full 90 in Middlesbrough's 1-0 win over Swansea. And man, I was really impressed with how he played in this game, man. He was real crisp, assured. He was cooking on the half turn. I mean, there were so many fouls in the game that, like, a lot of the times he would turn out of pressure in like just gorgeous manner, and then there'd be a whistle off the ball like 20 yards away, and so the play would be dead. But he was looking really good, and I don't know. I think he's better than Seb Berhalter, but I get it. I get that Sebastian.
Well, there's what is the one thing Sebastian brings to the table the one thing that'll get him on the World Cup team? What is it?
Vibes.
The set piece.
No, set pieces. That's it.
Okay.
Right. He can hit a set piece, and arguably as well as anybody else in the player pool, right? Arguably. So I think that there's going to be, when you look at central midfield, it's really interesting. You have to say that, well, I mean, we don't know what Moose's situation is, but Adams and McKennie are locks. I think if they're healthy and available and bought in and all that stuff. We'll see what happens with Wes, but you need West and McKennie at the World Cup. No doubt about it. I still think Musa's got a chance to be in there. And if not, is there a more attacking option like a Tillman, like a Luna? But when you look at central midfield, right, like there's a lot of guys there for not a lot of spots. Like I still think Tanner Tessman is a guy that is interesting. He's playing at a good club in a good league. He's an absolute physical beast, which makes a difference at the international level. We talked about Sebastian's undersized. Aidan Morris is a little bit undersized, although he's pretty strong, strong guy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of competitions for spot. Johnny Cardoso, I watched him play for Atletico over the weekend.
How did he look?
He looked okay. I mean, he always looks good for his club. Like I've seen him play a couple games. Saw him play against Porto as well. He's been fine. It's amazing to see him suiting up in those colors, with playing for Diego San. I mean, that's a big step up for him. And you have to think, like, if he plays well, like, he's got to be in the mix somewhere. That was one of the disappointments of the Gold Cup. I thought he would get a run of games this summer, probably in Berhalter's place if he's healthy, but he wasn't. He was dealing with an ankle injury the whole Gold Cup and didn't play.
Do you think it was really that, or was it just that he kicked the ball into his own goal?
No, I don't think it was that.
Okay.
No, look, he's a quality player, and there was some transfer stuff that was going on during the Gold Cup. I know, like, Atletico's team doctor did the medical while he was in camp with the U.S., things like that. But no, like, if he was available to play, he would have played. I'm sure of it. I don't think it was a matter of Poch not thinking he's good. He's clearly a good player. And then you remember how connected Pochettino is in Spain. Like, all his assistants live in Spain. He knows everybody in the country. Like, he was teammates with Diego Simeone, at the World Cup. So, like, he can pick up the phone and, like, so he knows Johnny's a good player. Johnny will be on the World Cup team, I think. Like, I hope he has a great season this year so he can, provide some real competition in the midfield. Because, I mean, look, if you think back a few years ago, guys, like, the idea that you'd have a guy who's, potentially starting for Atletico Madrid and not good enough to start for the U.S. men's national team,
ridiculous.
Said you're crazy. Yeah. So we know he's a good player. Hasn't shown it with the national team. I feel like eventually he will, and he'll be at least the first option off the bench. But I think he's got the inside track in central midfield ahead of guys like Aidan Morris. Luca De La Torre, I'm a little worried about because, again, he's a little bit undersized. He does, like, what does he bring to the table? Like, are you going to take Sebastian Berhalter and Luca De La Torre? Probably not taking both of them. And if you're taking one, then the set pieces are maybe what you take. So a lot of really hard decisions that have to be made over the next 10 months or so.
You know what, Doug? When you said you said something that I think might have helped me crack the code with regards to Johnny Cardoso. You said when you see him in those colors. At first, I thought you were talking about the USA colors. When you see him in those colors, it's a completely different player or something like that. But you were talking about Atletico's colors.
Yeah.
Which are the same colors as the United States men's national team.
That's a good point.
What I'm saying is, once we get him in here playing well for Atletico Madrid, I think we're going to see a little bit more transfer. The green over to the red and blue. No, it doesn't transfer as well. Red, white, and blue to red, white, and blue. I think we got it there.
There you go. So, yeah.
That's what he needs.
Yeah.
Real quick, Wrexham opened their campaign in the championship at Southampton, which is I think Wrexham's the Wrexham story is pretty cool. There was a U.S. eligible player in the game. Downs came off the bench.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was credited with an assist, which was, I have to report, not really an assist. He ran onto a ball, squared into the 6, whiffed on it basically, just couldn't get his feet right, which is, I feel like we've seen that movie before from Damien. And then, like, from point blank, just barely gets a touch. It trickles through. I mean, you have to watch the really slow replay in high definition to see the touch. Trickles through for Jack Stevens to thump it in for the game winner at in the 96th minute. So that's Damien's contribution at Southampton so far. I don't know. Thoughts on Wrexham, Doug?
Thoughts on Ryan Reynolds? I've had about enough of Wrexham. Frankly, it is a great story. Doug. But like, yeah, no, it's. I have enough. Like, I have to watch so much soccer, and you know, I enjoy it. It's a privilege. But like, I can't be watching Wrexham unless they're playing against a U.S. men's national team player. I like Damian Downs. I would like to have seen more of him this summer.
For the record,
I would like to have seen more of him this summer. I thought there were times where he could have come on earlier for Ajiman in games, or even, you know, I know he was deployed with Ajiman, you know, kind of out wide at the end of games. Look, he did score a, you know, penalty kick that sent the U.S. to the semifinal, so that was his main contribution in the shootout win over Costa Rica, right? Against Keylor Navas, right? Nothing to sneeze at. But I would like to have seen him a bit more. He's a quality player. We saw that in 2 Bundesliga last year. Interesting move to go to the championship as opposed to, you know, go to the team he helped get promoted to the Bundesliga. But we'll see. I think he's got his work cut out for him to make the World Cup team. But again, the fact that he was in with the U.S. all summer probably doesn't hurt his chances. And if he has a good season in the same league as a lot of other, you know, U.S. strikers, you know, Haji and Josh and Ajiman now at Derby, he didn't play over the weekend, but yeah, like, you know, at least he's in this. It's easier to compare when they're all in the same league. So maybe that was some of the thinking as well.
I see. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Vince.
Real quick before we move on, I do want to, listener, if you listen to this podcast, I assume that you have ascertained that Doug here is a real ball watcher. And I just want to bring up the fact that when I met Doug in Austin, I had my Scuff podcast hat on. He came up, introduced himself to me, etc. He said, "Y'all do great work," and he uses the playbill
every weekend, guys. Yeah,
every weekend. So I just want to know what's your weekend routine like?
Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's. I mean, it starts first thing. Well, usually the weekend starts on Friday, right? So we'll get a couple games on Friday or a game on Friday afternoon, hopefully with the U.S. player involved. And then, yeah, man, my TV's on from depends what time. Some of the Scottish games kick off at 6 a.m, right? You got Celtic, and start the day with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty, and just go through the games. And even if it's not a national team player, the 7:30 Premier League game is going to be on in my house. And yeah, I try to watch as many U.S. players every week as I can. You guys do great work. And it's a good, I wanted to say this at the end, guys, but like, I really admire your passion for the national team, for the sport. It comes through in everything you do. You know, I love it. It helps me. And it's an honor for me to come on and join you guys today. Cause I've been a fan of your work for going back years. And like I said, yeah, those playbills are so helpful because it's hard to get your head around how many games are. You don't have the MLS games on there though, right? Like, so that's it's only European games, right? So like, I know you've added the, you know, women's players the last couple of years. That's a nice touch. But then when you add in the MLS games too, guys, it's like, yeah, it's just there's a lot of soccer to watch on the weekends. When MLS season starts in February, it's like, man, how do I stay married? It's really difficult.
I was about to say, Doug, you got a family, man. Like, how
it's hard. It's hard. Well, my son loves soccer, so we watch a lot together. So that's really great.
Okay. Nice.
And yeah, so
shout out. I got to shout out Greg Velasquez for the playbill because he's the one who does it every week. Greg Velasquez in his laboratory in Ankeny, Iowa, you know, just pumping out the playbill.
Greg does a great job, man. It's awesome. Everyone should be using that playbill every weekend. Keep track of everybody.
A little bit of transfer news real quick and transfer injury to close us out. This Freeman to Villarreal thing, is this Real?
I don't think there's anything to that.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Real. No, you know. Don't think it's Real. Yeah. Okay. with the double R. The double R. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, look, the guy to go to for all your MLS reporting, as you know, is Tom Bogert. Does a great job. You know, any transfer news, you check with him. He said that Orlando doesn't want to sell him. I know there's been interest from Premier League teams in Freeman. I believe he will be in the Premier League this time next year. That's what I think is going to happen. But I don't think it's going to happen before that. And look, there's a risk for all these, like anybody that's on the world, like that, can realistically think that they're on the World Cup roster now. They're taking a huge chance making a move at this point. It doesn't work well. Probably cost Ricardo Pepi a place on the last World Cup roster. If he stays in Dallas and scores a bunch of goals on the same team as Jesus Ferreira, like maybe he goes in Jesus' place, or they go together or whatever. I don't think it was a great move for Ajiman. We'll see how it pans out, but that's a big risk to me. If he stayed in Charlotte, keeps doing his thing there, he put himself in a position to be on the World Cup team. Now I'm not so sure. So yeah, anybody that wants to move, like, I don't begrudge anyone chasing money or try to take that step up in their career, but being on a World Cup team is a pretty great thing in your career too. And for me, it might make sense to wait a year. The money might be there in a year. It's hard not to take it now, but if you play well at a World Cup, doors open for you. So I'm curious to see how it pans out for some of these guys, if they bet on themselves, or if they don't just yet. So we'll see.
Eunice, maybe to Nottingham Forest. This still sounds possible. That I guess they can pay more than Napoli. You don't think so?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't like that fit for him. I think the best thing that could happen is there were some rumblings. I don't know if it's true or not that that maybe he can stay at Milan. We've seen Max Allegri have changed a heart on U.S. players in the past. Weston McKennie. I would love to see that situation happen with Eunice at Milan. I mean, he was the guy that was starting for them last year every game at the beginning of the year. They had a coaching change. Similar thing to the U.S. where he's a good enough player to play a bunch of different positions, and that's hurt him in his career because he's been moved around and it's prevented him from excelling at any one spot. So I think that was part of the problem at Milan last year. I would love to see him stay there and play for Allegri. I really like Allegri as a coach, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, troubling lack of news from him as well. Like, these guys got to be playing the year into the World, going into the World Cup, and there's too many guys that are just in uncertain situations. And Moose is a guy that, he was a starter at the last World Cup at 19, 20 years old, turned 20 during the tournament. You would think he'd be in contention to start for this one too, but he's got to be playing like everyone else.
Yeah, I feel like if he's there, he gets leaned on, at the World Cup.
I agree.
Because
he's a great player. Yeah.
2.5 weeks left in the transfer window, I believe, right? So there's still time. Matt Turner's back in New England. They Dos Acero'd lowly DC United. He got a clean sheet. So he's back on track, I guess, in his quest.
He's playing.
And then, and then let me just do 3 little bits of injury news. Balogun picked up a minor injury during training, didn't play for Monaco against Inter Milan in their friendly, should be back soon. Jedi is apparently still recovering from knee surgery over the summer and won't be in the squad for Fulham to start the Premier League campaign this coming weekend. That's a little troubling, but I mean, it'll be all right, right?
Yeah, it's a little troubling. Yeah,
we need him to play. I would like for him to be there in New Jersey and Columbus.
Oh yeah,
if possible.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just the thing that's concerning about that is that it feels like Fulham didn't manage the injury really well, and I don't want to speak out of turn and criticize Fulham if it's not warranted. But like, they were not getting relegated. They were not, there were the last number of games in their season, they didn't have much to play for. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in retrospect, it would have made sense to shut Jedi down then, have him do the surgery earlier, because now he's missing the start of the new season. So not ideal. And, a guy that we all thought was going to maybe move to greener pastures this summer, and doesn't look like that's going to happen now either. So not the worst thing in the world for him to stay at Fulham. But, not what we thought was going to happen with Jedi, and definitely not great to have one of your top players start the season on the sidelines injured.
Yeah. Good point about that home stretch of the season that they didn't have much to play for, did they?
Yeah.
Did they have like a Europa League spot they were going to?
Definitely not the last game. I think the last 2-3 games of their season, they could have done without Jedi. It would have been fine.
And the last bit of troubling injury news is Kevin Paredes is still sorting out his foot. Apparently, the local newspaper is saying he'll be, quote, out for long, end quote, which is classic sort of translational diction there.
Yeah.
He broke his foot
again.
Yeah, he broke it again. A different bone than the one that broke last year. I'm getting this from Discord user Charlie, who, without revealing why he knows this information, just know that he's a good source. And so anyway, Kevin broke another bone in his foot, and it's going to be out for I think 12 to 14 weeks officially.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah, so
brutal. That's really unfortunate. That was a guy that was on the come up. Absolutely. He started a Nations League game at the end of 2014 against 2023, I should say, against Trinidad and Tobago. Looked like he was going to be a key part of things this cycle, and just I think he got injured at the Olympics, right, guys, for last year. That's where and so really unfortunate. I really like Kevin Paredes as a player. I thought he had an excellent chance of making the World Cup team, and it just it looks like injuries are going to maybe stop that from happening. Maybe not. He might have some time at the end to econ, but it's going to be an uphill climb for him now for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Coming back late November, something like that. We'll see. Because I do like him as a player as well, quite a bit.
Yeah, that would give him one camp, right? Because there's the March window, and then after that, it's going to be the World Cup team gets named. There'll be 2 friendlies in June, and then we're right into the main event, guys. So yeah.
All right, I think that's it from us. Doug, thank you so much for the generous use of your time, and good luck over the next 12 months. Maybe we'll get you back.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. Like I said, pleasure. I really appreciate what you guys do. You keep the fans engaged, excited. Like, your passion comes through in everything you do. And it's a treat to be on with you guys. Vince, it was great to meet you in Austin. Adam, I'd never met you. Look forward to catching up in person somewhere along the way, man.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you.